between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income. Well, what happened was I met a guy, in fact, I was dating his daughter, that taught me about the importance of mindset and how your mindset and your psychology is really 80 to 90% of your success in anything. And only 10 to 20% is the mechanical information you and I teach on our podcast. It's really, you've got to take action with what you learn. If it was just knowledge, there'd be a bunch of wealthy librarians and college professors. And it's the do, it's the push through fear, push through analysis paralysis.
I've heard if information was the answer, we'd all be billionaires with six packs.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. That's kind of funny that you say that. I'll circle back to that in a second, because it is funny. Yeah, and I lost my train of thought. It's never pretty when you're old and lose your mind. Anyway, so fast forward to today. I have, I've owned a couple thousand houses that I've rented long-term. I've owned thousands of apartment units. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you're like, wow. And I was like, wow. And I thought I was a freaking real estate god. Okay. My head got so big, I could barely fit it through a door. And you know, when that happens, God of the universe will give you a nice little smack. Well, that was 2008. I lost everything in 2008. I lost $50 million conservatively in 2008. And so one of the things I enjoy talking about is the mindset and psychology it took to have 50 million to lose in the first place. And maybe more importantly, the mindset it took to recover from that. So, people jumped off buildings back in the Great Depression, killed themselves in this last contraction we had, for losing less comparatively. And so would be an honor to drill down on that, if you like, a little bit.
Absolutely. Love to.
All right. Well, let's talk about it, because that's actually the question I get most often. How did you recover from losing 50 million bucks? And I will tell you, it sucked. Okay. It was not fun. I mean, I was under a rock for a few months, feeling sorry for myself, but there were several things that I was exposed to that really helps. First thing is, I knew that I had to reassociate with my goals. I had to reassociate with what I wanted and why I wanted it. And so, if you come to one of my boot camps, you'll notice the first thing we do for the first hour and a half, as you know, you've been to one, is goal setting. Because how the heck do you get anything if you don't know what it is that you want, right? And so I'd like to describe that process very quickly for your listeners, because, I do have a boot camp coming up, by the way. I know there's not short notice, because I know this is going to air like a couple weeks before, but I've got one coming up December 3rd, 4th, and 5th in Orlando. It's the only live one that I'm doing a year now, because it's me for 3 days. It's not a sales pitch. I don't have a bunch of people coming in to sell stuff. It's just literally me teaching this business. I talk about my coaching for about 30 minutes in the 3 days. Rest of the time is all content. And I've had thousands of people attend, and the only complaint I ever get is the room's too cold or the food sucked or something like that. But anyway, so I'll tell you guys, if you're listening, how to come to that if you'd like, for a fraction of what it costs on my website. So I'll give you a hell of a deal if you're interested. But anyway, the first thing we do is goal setting. So if you have the ability to take some notes real quick, and I'll describe the process to you. And if you aren't able to make my boot camp, if you ping me on any social channel. I did this on January 2nd of this year. I did it on the first year before, but January 2nd was a Saturday. I did it on Saturday, January 2nd, with music, professionally done. You can download this guide to use while we're going through this process. It's free. If you DM me and say, send me the goal setting link, I'll send it to you, and I'll guide you through this, which is really an awesome process to do with your spouse, or if you've got a kid that's, say, over 13, 14 years old, to do their goals. It's just incredibly powerful. But let me describe it real quick. So what you want to do is you want to pick an hour when you have a lot of energy. You want to make sure you're well hydrated, drink water, don't do it right after a meal, and sit down and write down everything you could ever possibly want in life. Not just the New Year's resolutions that are historically forgotten by January 17th. You want to write down everything. So big things, little things, all the stuff: houses, cars, boats, jet skis, planes, how much money you want in the bank in 3 years and maybe again in 10 years, how much cash flow you want from your investments, say in 3 years and 10 years. And take the lid off your brain. Don't limit yourself. Imagine if you write it down, you're going to get it. If you want a private island, a jet, a yacht, write it down. That starts the process. And those of you who are analytical, you know who you are. Don't stop and analyze your answers. Just keep writing. Okay. You can always scratch it out later, but you want to keep your momentum and really keep your energy high, and just write down everything. Also write down the things you want to do in this lifetime, your bucket list stuff. Maybe you want to climb Mount Everest, or you want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane, which I did a few years back and I'll never freaking do again. But so all that stuff too. Maybe you want to, do your travel list, where you want to travel. I've got a travel vision board behind my green screen here, so all that stuff. And also write down everything you want to learn in this lifetime. So it's not just the stuff, it's everything you want to do, be, or have. Okay. And so what do you want to learn? Maybe you want to learn a foreign language. If you want to learn multifamily, for God's sakes, come to my boot camp. But whatever it is, write that down. Then lastly, write down who you want to help. Why? Because we'll do more for others than we'll ever do for ourselves. And this is the fuel. This is the fuel to get you off your butt, to get up early, to stay up late, to work Saturdays, to grind for a few years like most people won't, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't. So, be diligent and really write down everything you can possibly think of, big things, little things you want to do for your family members. I bought my parents a house here in Florida on a canal, car, took them on cruises. Write down who you want to do things for. All right. Now, once you can't think of another thing, pick your number one goal. That goal, when you get it, you're like, oh my God, you've arrived when you achieve that goal. Put that on a separate sheet of paper. And if there's 2 or 3 equally exciting, just pick one. It won't matter for what we're going to do next. Then pick your top 3 one-year goals. Put those on a separate sheet of paper. So you've got 4 goals. And at this point, you're ahead of 99.99% of the people on the planet, like I say, that do a New Year's resolution. It never happens. But there's a couple more quick steps. You need to write down underneath each one of those goals why it's an absolute freaking must to achieve it. Okay. And you want to use emotionally charged words. Words are so powerful. So use words like amazing and incredible and beautiful. So I can show my kids what amazing success looks like. So I can show my wife what it means to live a life of unbelievable abundance. So we can have incredible freedom to do whatever we want, whenever we want, wherever we want, whatever's going to juice you, write that down. Okay. And put whys underneath each goal. Once you got finished with that, I want you to put some pain in there and make it freaking hurt if you don't achieve the goal. So I don't fail my kids. So I don't fail my spouse. So I don't live a life of regret. There was this nurse in Australia. I know you've heard me say this before. There was this nurse in Australia, as you know, Sterling, that was a hospice nurse that counseled patients when they were took care of patients really when they were about to die. And she asked them a question. And the question was, do you have any regrets? She wrote a book about it. It's called The 5 Regrets of Dying. Her name's Bronnie Ware. You know what the number one regret was? Not living the life I could have lived, living somebody else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. Guys, I can't think of anything worse than that. If you're caught in analysis paralysis, for example, and here, I would say this to you. Don't be in the same place a year from now that you are right now, unless you freaking love where you are right now, right? So no regrets. All right, so you've got your whys written down. Then the last thing is get pictures of your goals. I'll give you some examples or make declarations to people that aren't going to try to diminish your goals. I'll give you some examples. The actor Jim Carrey, when he was flat broke, wrote himself a check for $10 million. And that's how much money he made for Dumb and Dumber. The singer Demi Lovato, when she was unknown, posted on social media, one day I'm going to sing the national anthem in the Super Bowl. Go watch the one before this last one, see who sang it. I'll give you some personal examples. Back when I was 18, I figured I needed a 4-door car to show people houses. And I got this freaking bone ugly Ford Granada, piece of crap, bench seat in the front, just a piece of what. But I worked for a guy that had 2 Corvettes. And the guy I was telling you about that I dated his daughter, and he let me drive one. And I'm like, oh my God, this is freaking awesome. So I got a picture of a Corvette out of a magazine. This is before the internet had even been thought of yet. And I got a picture out of a magazine. I put on the visor of that bone ugly Granada. So every time I sat in it, it was right there in front of my face. Within a year or 2, I had a Corvette. I'll give you some other examples. But please know, in all of these situations, I'm not trying to brag. I just want to let you know what's possible. You know what? I forgot one really important piece. I forgot to mention, when you're doing your goals, did I mention to put a time limit on each goal? I don't think I did that. You need to put how many years it's going to take you to achieve that goal. And I missed that part. So when you've written your goals, put a number by each goal, how many years it's going to take you to achieve a 1, 3, 5, even a 10 or a 20, recognizing that as human beings, we will overestimate what we can do in a year and massively underestimate what we can do in 5, 10, 20 years. And I just realized I forgot to mention that. So when you pick your number one goal, you do that before you pick your number one goal. And then again, you pick your top 3 1-year goals. And, an example of underestimate what you can do in, say, 10 or 20 years. I'll give you a personal example. And again, I want to let you know this is not me bragging. I just want to inspire you. Okay. Very important that you recognize that. In fact, you can just replace these examples from my personal life with whatever is important to you. But, back when I lived in Denver, I knew I wanted to live on the beach, and there's no beach in Denver, but I visualized the beach, and I visualized the surf and the sand and the waves. And 20 years later, I built this incredible mansion on the beach. In fact, behind me on the green screen is the pool there. Pool was in magazines. It was a 12-foot wide waterfall from the second floor balcony into the pool. It's just spectacular home. $10 million place, $8 million place. I'm sorry, 10,000 square feet. It was Gulf to Bay. I owned the beach on one side. I had my boats on the backside. It was like a slice through an island, but that was unthinkable when I was 18. And the reason I bring that up is so don't limit yourself. There's nothing you can't do. You just have to make a decision and take action. So, when you're doing your goals, make sure you go big. And see, here's the other thing I forgot to mention. I'm sorry, it's early for me. I had a late night. When you write your goals, it triggers something in your brain called your reticular activating system. And that's that filter. It's subconscious in your brain that points you subconsciously. You're not aware of this. It points you in the direction it thinks you're interested in. And I guess the greatest example I can give you is when you first buy a car. You never really notice them, and you drive off the lot and you see them everywhere. Okay. Were they there before? Of course they were, but that's your reticular activating system. And so just writing the goals down is a huge step in the right direction there. And then you want to associate with them regularly. And I'll tell you how to do that in a second. But just make sure, and if you're analytical, don't keep them in your head. You got to write them down. If you're in your head, you're dead. Super important. All right. So back to, you've got your 4 goals, number 1, and your top 3 1-year goals. You've written your reasons why it's an absolute must, including the negative ones. Then you must get pictures. Okay. And like I was giving you some examples, I'll give you some more. When I had the Corvette, that was back when the TV show Magnum PI was out. It's before you were born, Sterling, but the actor's name was Tom Selleck. And look at your vision board.
I made this after attending your boot camp last year.
Oh, look at that. Oh, I freaking hold on. Let me look at that for a minute. Don't take it away that's freaking awesome, dude. Oh, I love that. And you articulated how you do $1 million a year, how much you need a month, per day, per week. I freaking love that, man. I love the pictures of the homes, the vehicles. Love it, man. Freaking love it, dude. I love it. So vision boards really work, guys. I've got multiple vision boards behind my green screen here. And, some of you analytical ones are going, oh, come on, let's get on with the real estate content. Trust me, this is more freaking important. Okay. It
is. I know so many people that are so much smarter than me and more analytical than me and not as successful as me. I harp on the mindset stuff as much as I know you do. And every single successful person I know eats this stuff up. And every unsuccessful person I know tells me how stupid it is. Yeah.
Well, there you go. There you go. I didn't want to call you out that harshly, but that's the truth of it. And so, let me give you some more examples from me personally. So, that was when the TV show Magnum PI was out. The guy drove a Ferrari 308. First time I saw an exotic car, and I'm like, oh man, that's freaking awesome. So I got a picture of that car, put it on the visor of my Corvette. Within a year or two, had a Maserati looked just like it. Last example, I'm the guy that always wanted a Lamborghini. I had, posters in my room. The Countach is the one that I thought was the coolest, although that's not what I got. But my son collected models of exotic cars, and he had a model. He had Ferraris and Porsches, and this is when he was 9 years old. He had McLarens and all that stuff. But he had a model of the exact same color and style Lamborghini that I ended up buying. And so, get pictures. In fact, I'll show you something. I know you put these on YouTube, and those of you on iTunes, I'll just describe what I'm showing. This is my planner. It's on today. In the back of this thing are pictures that have been in here for 20 years. Okay. My kids are 30 and 26 right now. These are when they were young. So these are my gratitude pictures. Why do I have a gratitude section? Because everything you get in life starts with gratitude. Okay. So these are the pictures of things I'm grateful for. Then I've got pictures of things that I wanted. This top picture is just like that house I built on the beach before I ever built it. I had 10-foot high glass like that, 80-foot long, travertine floors just like that, look just like that. This bottom picture looks just like the compound I have now. I lost that big house and all the craziness. Now I live in a compound. I've got 6 buildings. I've got a big main house, 2-bedroom guest house. I've got an exercise facility. I built an awesome video studio above it because, I had to go virtual with my events. Now, thank God I'm going live again. But I had thousands of people attend my virtual events, you included. And because God's got a sense of humor, I'm in this compound. My old house is right across the bay that I lost in all the craziness. It's literally right across the bay. You can see it every day when I walk out there. But then I've got, stupid crap. Like I've got a few $100,000 worth of watches. And again, this is just stuff I thought was important at one time. The Lamborghini before I ever got it, Rolls Royce, Bentley, Range Rover, all this stuff I thought was important at one time. But you replace that with what you think is important, but get pictures, put them around you. I've got pictures of things that I want on the walls here with me. I've got the vision boards like Sterling's got. So make sure that you do that as well. And that's all I got, man. So awesome. That's not all I got actually, but that's the biggest thing. Let me tell you a couple other super important things as it relates to success. Another one is you've got to make a decision. You got to have the goals. That's how you get the burning desire. Like Napoleon Hill talks about in his book, Think and Grow Rich. You've got to have that burning desire. But once you've got that, you got to make a decision. And I don't mean a 1 foot in, 1 foot out sort of thing. I mean, it is freaking done. The Latin root for the word decision means to cut off. You're going to attack the island. You burn your ships because you're taking their damn ships home. Okay. That's a decision. It's done. Okay. So you got to make a decision. Then you have to take the first step. So many analytical people get caught up trying to envision the whole road. I'm going to tell you, in our business, this multifamily game, my most successful students are the most analytical ones, no question. But they're the hardest to get to take action because they have to check every little box before they make a decision. I'm going to tell you, if that's you, pay attention to that, because you don't have to see the whole road to get started. Dr. Martin Luther King said, take that first step in faith and the next step will be revealed. Lao Tzu said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but you got to take that step. In our business, we have the law of the first deal as well. I see it with my students all the time. It's the scariest. They're in, 6 months, they haven't got a deal. 8 months, they haven't got a deal. But once they get that first deal, next thing you know, they have 6. And I'm like, what the hell happened? And I want to share something I'm really proud of. My warriors, my coaching mentorship students now own over 47,000 doors that I'm aware of. And I've only been teaching under 4 years. I'm really proud of that. Yeah. And so, by the way, let me talk about my boot camp real quick before I forget. Sure. So it's December 3rd, 4th, and 5th. My live events are 3 days because I had a lot of other content that I can't do in the 2-day virtual. So that you went to, but it's 3 full days. It's not a sales pitch. I talk about my coaching for about 30 minutes. Then beyond that, it's all content. And we go through everything from building your team to finding deals, to evaluating those deals, to due diligence, to financing them, how to syndicate. I have a syndication attorney teach that part. I have a finance broker teach that part. Everything else I teach, but how to do property management, and all the above and then some. And of course, I spend a good bit on mindset. There's a reason my students are so successful, because they take action. And so I spend it, with some, you will laugh, you will cry. I promise you, because it's not your typical real estate boot camp. And, we're shooting, I think we're at about 700 people right now for the event. So it's going to be a nice size one. And talk about the networking is off the chain. I mean, for those of you who don't know, this business is a team sport, and it's not like flipping or wholesaling. You can't do this by yourself. The multifamily game, at least the commercial multifamily game, you need a team. And that's the beautiful thing about this business, is you don't have to know it all. See, in my partnership, I'm the mouthpiece at this point, although it's kind of ironic because I used to be incredibly introverted, from getting beat up in school when I was young and so on and so forth. But my partner is super analytical. And I see that combination very often, where it's an analytical person with an outgoing person. Those are some of the most successful partnerships I see, on my podcast. So I host a podcast. It's called Lifetime Cashflow Through Real Estate Investing. We're about to hit 12 million downloads. So I'm super proud of that as well. And the reason it's done so well, I know, is because I spend time on mindset. I do these clips called Own Your Power, and they're 5-minute clips. So, I hope you'll check it out, because, it's so important. And I've got hundreds of them on there. They're 5 minutes long. And if you listen to me once a week, I will juice you. I promise you. There's music, I'm really proud of those. That's my best work. And like this week was about 100% responsibility. But back to the boot camp. If you want to come, the website is multifamilybootcamp.com, or if you're driving in your car, text multifamily to 72345. But remember this, use the code RODFRIEND, because the price is $597 now, but you can come for $197 if you use the code RODFRIEND. So multifamilybootcamp.com, or text multifamily to 72345 and use the code RODFRIEND. And not only do you get the boot camp ticket, even if you can't come to the boot camp, the bonuses I give are worth probably 10 times what I'm charging. You get my new Courage and Confidence course, which is freaking awesome. It's 8 modules. And it teaches you about building your courage and confidence to take action. I'm really proud of that. That's brand new. Now, I've also got a Finding Deals course that's fairly new as well. That's all the strategies around finding deals, because finding deals is the toughest thing right now. So you get those. You also get the PDF and the Audible version of my #1 best-selling book, How to Create Lifetime Cash Flow Through Multifamily Properties. So you get all of that with the ticket. So again, if you can't, and by the way, if you decide to get a ticket and you can't make the Orlando event, I'm going to have a virtual event the end of March, and you can use the ticket for that as well, and then have those bonuses right now. So again, text multifamily 72345 and use the code RODFRIEND. I appreciate you letting me plug that, because I want to reach as many people as I can. But again, get pictures of your goals, put them around you, make a decision, take that first step, and then be careful who you associate with. The last thing I want to mention about mindset is peer group. You are who you hang out with. You show me your 3 best friends, I'll show you who you are. You're in your relationship, in your health, in your happiness, and in your finances. That's just it. And so most people, default to the people they work with or the people they went to school with. Big mistake, because those people might be afraid of your jealousy. Are afraid or jealous of your success or your desire for success. And out of their love for you, or their fear of being embarrassed, or their jealousy, they will hold you back. And so proactively choose who you're going to hang out with. Super important. So I could keep going, but we'll stop there on the mindset piece.
I know it. And I just want to, echo everything you said and tell everyone that there's a tremendous amount of value. And as you said, from about a team sport and from the networking aspect, that's always the most value. I was sitting in the back of the event this past weekend when you were speaking, and I was talking to Dugan Kelly, and he said, you've been to these events a bunch of times. You got to know the content by now. Why do you keep coming back? And I'm like, it's the people I meet when I'm here. That's such a huge part. So you do see people that we know that content like the back of our hand, right? But we just keep coming back for the relationships.
I followed Tony Robbins. I followed Tony Robbins around the planet for 20 years, and I could probably do his presentations by this point. But you always get new distinctions, and you meet incredible people. Like you said, this business is your network is your net worth, period. That was a good event. It was hard on me because I've got some personal stuff happening. I think you heard me talk about, I'm sure if you were there. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So switching gears a little bit, can we talk a little bit about what happened in 2008? And what you're doing differently today? Yeah,
no, absolutely. So a lot of people ask me that. And here's the thing. They're like, were you over leveraged? No, I was at a 30% loan to value. I only owed 30 cents on the dollar, and I still crashed and burned. Here's why. I was totally focused on value instead of cash flow. So I had 800 houses. They were 2 hours north of me, 2 hours south of me, and everywhere in between. And Florida has no state income tax, so they have higher property taxes. So that's number 1, impact cash flow. Number 2, I had properties in wind and flood zones. Higher insurance, impact cash flow. But here's what killed me. If I had to send a maintenance guy to one of my apartment complexes at the time, everything's the same. Plumbing parts are the same. The locks are the same. The HVAC is the same. Appliances are the same. Windows, everything. So we could stockpile parts and they could be in and out in an hour, maintenance guy. Well, if I had to send someone to one of my houses that's an hour or 2 away, or even close, doesn't matter. Everything's different. Then they have to go see what's wrong, go find a Home Depot or a Lowe's where we had an account, pick up the parts. And I don't know about you, Sterling, but anytime Rod's happy ass tries to fix something, I end up going to Home Depot. I end up going to Home Depot more than once. Okay. So what took, an hour at one of my maintenance one of my apartment complexes took all day at one of my houses, and you multiply, and these were C-class houses as well. There's A, B, and C and D class houses. D's the hood, A's brand new. Well, these were C, and that demographic is harder on the houses. You're gonna have a lot more maintenance with a C-class property. They're older as well, and so I had tons of maintenance, and that really killed my cash flow. And then the coup de grace, as it were, is I didn't pay attention to demographics at that time. I mean, if you had a good job, you had good credit, I didn't care, but I discovered that a lot of my tenants were contractors, plumbers, electricians, drywallers, roofers, painters, and retail. They were in retail as well, which all fell off a cliff in 08 and 09. And so, they couldn't pay the rent. And then what's really crazy is my portfolio actually went upside down. It dropped more than 70%. And I'm like, screw it, I'm done. I was out. And I hate it, because if I still had those houses, my God, they'd all be free and clear at this point. But here's the thing that was interesting. And the reason I started my podcast is my multifamily did just fine through the crash. It pulled back about 11%, but I could easily survive that. And the other thing is, which is interesting, is multifamily's rents were back to were higher than 2006 levels within 3 years of the crash. Super resilient, bounced back very, very quickly. And that's why the subtitle of my book at the bottom is The New Rules of Real Estate Investing, i.e. the new rules are forget value, focus on cash flow, period. It's all about cash flow. And, don't tell me what someone else paid for it 10 years ago and what you get it for now. It doesn't matter. Tell me what the numbers are, what's your returns on your money, so on and so forth. And that's why I love multifamily. When this COVID blip happened, the government didn't help retail owners to speak of. I mean, retail, that own strip centers, didn't help office building owners. But they helped landlords because there was tons of rent relief. We're still getting rent relief checks. So, that's why I love this business. It's resilient. It's safe. People always need a place to live. And here's the other thing. Inflation is coming with this current administration spending trillions. If you want to see something interesting,
it's already here.
Oh no, it's already started, but it just getting started. It is just getting started. And if you want to see something crazy, look at a picture of $1 million against $1 trillion. It'll blow, or $1 billion even. Look at $1 billion against $1 trillion. It'll blow your mind. And it's just an incredibly staggering amount of money. They're just printing. They're just print. And it's there. Don't get me started on the political side of that, because it's just lunacy to me. But it's going to hurt the economy for sure. And but in inflation, you got to pay more for goods. But what else do you think goes up? Rent. That's right, baby. So let me tell you, if you own some real estate, you are in probably the best hedge against inflation, period. So, that's why I love this business, and I'm trying to snap up everything I can, before it really hits hard, but it's coming. It's really coming for sure.
Absolutely. And I keep spreading that message as well. Where are you buying today, and why are you buying there?
Sure. So we've got assets. I've got 3 in Dallas, 1 in San Antonio. We're selling our 1 in Kentucky. We've got 1 in Cincinnati, Ohio. Got 1 in Beaver Creek, Ohio, which is a suburb of Dayton, a very wealthy suburb. Got 1 here in Sarasota, 1 northwest of Atlanta, 1 in South Carolina. I try to focus southeast. I did go up to Ohio. I love Ohio as well. I'm looking at my map here. That's why I'm away from my mic here. But love Texas, love Florida, of course, love Georgia, love Tennessee. I don't have anything there yet, but love it. So, I mean, that's where I'm buying. Why? Because there's 80 million baby boomers getting old and getting cold. So I want to be more south than north. That's number 1. Number 2, you want to stay close to home too. I mean, why would I buy in freaking Washington when I live in Florida? That's just silly. That's full day travel each way. That's goofy. There's enough low hanging fruit near where you live. So it's silly for me to go across the country. Although my partner is, he's in Phoenix, and he's been hinting that he'd love to buy something in Phoenix, but he lives there. So that's cool. I don't have to go. He can handle it. But but that's my rationale is baby boomers moving south. My rationale is people, I only buy in red states. Again, that's not a political statement. It's because the blue states just don't like landlords. Their laws are just ridiculoly restrictive. So why bother? I mean, go where there's lower hanging fruit. So I buy only in red states. And again, I don't care what your politics are. That is a business decision. So
sure, absolutely. Awesome. So what would you recommend for somebody just getting started? I know we talked about mindset and how important that is, but what are the next actionable items that you
don't dabble? Okay. Dabblers get their butts kicked. Okay. You've got to learn the business. Okay. And this business is a team sport, and you've got to build your competence first. I don't care if you do it with me, but you've got to go to YouTube University, whatever, but build your competence first. That will equate to your confidence, and then you'll have the ability to influence people. Okay. But it starts with competence. You've got to know what it is you're doing. There's more zeros in our business. It's not like single family. There's extra zeros. So you've got to learn the business. So don't dabble. That's number one. Number two, just take massive freaking action. Anybody that outworks their competition will always be a success. Number three, don't fear failure, fear regret. Okay. We fail our way to success. I call them seminars instead of a failure. That was a $50 million seminar. I've built 27 businesses in my life so far. Several have been worth tens of millions of dollars. Most have been spectacular flaming seminars. Okay. And again, we fail our way to success. I got to meet the billionaire owner of Spanx, the women's undergarments, Sarah Blakely. In fact, she just sold it, I think, for $1 billion cash, but beautiful human being. But I met her at her mastermind. And she told me that her dad used to ask her and her brother about on a weekly basis, what have you failed at this week? And I thought, what a freaking awesome question to ask your kids, to not fear failure. I wish I'd have had that back when my kids were more impressionable, but awesome question. Yeah, again, fear being in the same place you are a year or two from now that you are right now, unless you absolutely love where you are right now. That's what I would tell you to fear. That's so that's enough. I can keep going, but yeah.
So where do you stand on operators with a day job? So there's a lot of in the real estate space. Yeah, there's a lot of converse.
I've got a lot of students that have built incredible fortunes on the side. Okay, that have retired from very high paying day jobs. Sure. Okay, I mean, there are several I'm thinking of right now that have done extremely well doing this on the side with families, with children. Nights, weekends, whatever they had to do to make it happen. It's just a decision. You just have to, again, you're willing to grind for a few years. You live the rest of your life like most people can't. That's just the truth of it. In fact, absolutely. I've got a sign on my wall: focus, grind now, play later. Okay. I've got some other statements on the wall. I am success. I am the best in the world at what I do. I'm a business genius. Again, not ego. This is what I'm aspiring to be. Anything you put the words I am in front of is an identity statement. There's no greater force in the human psychology than the need to be consistent with how we identify ourselves. So, I scream that stuff at the top of my lungs when I'm jogging or in my exercise room. In fact, my kids, if you meet my son my daughter can't make it this time, but if you meet my son at my boot camp, the question he gets most often is, does he really do that shit? Does he really yell that stuff when he's running? and he's like, oh yeah, we had to listen to that. But again, that's how I bounce back from, to the success that I have today. How we bought 2,500 units in the last couple of years with my students. So yeah.
That's awesome. One of the things that I really loved about the event and watching you speak the first time was your focus on family and spirituality and having a real well-rounded approach. Yeah. I think that's, sometimes we get so aggressive being business sharks that we leave that behind. And that comes really down to like, who do you want to model your life after? Like, I don't want to be a billionaire has 5 ex-wives and my kids hate me. You know what I mean? Like I want to I've actually had business coaches approach me, and I'm a big proponent of coaching and buying education and all that. But, it was a single guy who decided to never get married or have kids. And I'm like, well, I don't think that like our lifestyles align. I want somebody who's going to teach me how to be a great father and a great husband while I'm succeeding at business.
If you want to get cut up and ripped, don't find the heavy guy at the gym to train with, or a woman or whatever. You want the guy that looks like you are, and the same thing in business. Well, let me share a couple things because I'm really glad you brought that up. First of all, I lost my train of thought. Okay, mindset. One of my greatest regrets in life, not mindset, I'm sorry, being there for the people that matter. One of my greatest regrets in life was coming home to my kids every day in that mansion on the beach. And I would play with them, but I was distracted. I wasn't there mentally. It's the greatest regret in my life to this day. My kids will tell you I was an incredible dad, but I didn't live up to my own expectations. And so one of the things I teach at my boot camp is this planning process that helps mitigate that, so that you make sure you carve out time for the people that matter. Because I'm going to tell you, your spouse, your child would rather have 15 minutes of your total focus than an hour of distraction. So I spend time teaching that because it's so freaking important. All right. Second thing I want to share is doing this for the right reasons. So I remember floating in that pool behind me. Okay. I worked for this house for 20 freaking years. 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in that pool at night one night. Pool's changing colors. It's got fiber optic lighting. Let me just describe this house a little more. So again, I told you it's Gulf to Bay, beach on one side, boats on the backside, elevator, wine cellar. There was a spiral staircase up through the middle of the house, had carved metal with these brass balls that were embedded in it. Just gorgeous freaking staircase. On the second floor, I had aquariums built around it that cost me almost 200 grand. So this gives you an idea of the house. So 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in this thing, looking up at this, testament to my ego. That's the truth of it. It was to prove the world I was good enough. And it's embarrassing to admit that, but that's the truth. And I'm looking up at this thing and I got depressed. And I'd worked for this for 20 years. And this is 2 months after I moved in. Okay. And I got depressed. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I've just achieved success like times 1,000. And I mean, I had the 2 Mercedes, I had the Maserati, I had the boats, the jet skis, all the stuff. Okay. What was going on were several things. Number one is, and this ties into goals, you should never achieve a big goal without having other goals lined up behind it. You need a vision for the future. Like the good book says, without a vision, the people perish. And I didn't know what I was going to do next. So that's number one. Number two is it's never about the goals. Like they say, the happiest days of a boat owner's life are the day he buys the boat, the day they sell the boat. It's about who you become on your path to the goals. It's about progress and growth. So that was number two. And I didn't know what I was going to do to grow at that point. It's like, what's next after this? How do I top this? But the third thing that I think was the most impactful for me, and probably should be for you as well, is I'd been totally focused on me. Rod, show the world I'm good enough, show the world I matter. And that year I bought some books to, bring myself back. And one of them was a Tony Robbins book. And I went and saw him live and saw that he fed families for the holidays. And I'm like, what a concept, do something for someone else. I had to be 40 to get that freaking memo, but embarrassing to admit again. So I went home and I called my brother because I was going to Thanksgiving in Denver to see him and the rest of my family. And I said, let's feed 5 families. So he called his church and found out who really needs help. He got 5 families. Third family changed my life. We go up to this crappy 1-bedroom, wasn't even a 1-bedroom, it's crappy home. And we bought toys for the kids. She had 5 kids. We frozen turkey, big box, a couple boxes of food. And she comes out on the porch and she sees this stuff and she starts crying. And then her kids come out and a couple of the older ones start crying and I start crying and I'm freaking hooked. And I'm blessed to say in the last 21 years, we've now fed over 110,000 children for the holidays. We've done tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies here in Sarasota and Bradenton, Florida. We've done tens of thousands of teddy bears to local police departments for their officers to keep in their vehicles when they encounter a child that's been traumatized. And I don't say this to brag, but there's a message here, guys, those of you listening, okay? If you're not giving back in some fashion, you need to start immediately. You need to find out what you're passionate about and give back now. Tony Robbins calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. Achievement is a science. If you want to learn multifamily, just come see me. I will give you the steps, the blueprint. You just got to do it, period. There's no secret sauce there. You just have to do it. So it is a science. But fulfillment is an art because you have to find what juices you. Maybe it's children like me. Maybe it's the elderly. Maybe it's the environment, animals, whatever it is that juices you. Do something now. Don't tell me you'll do it when you have money. Do it now. Why? Because we've been taught to achieve to be happy. And, like we can't be happy unless we've achieved. I'm going to tell you, if you give back, you'll be happily achieving. And I know that's a play on words, but it's really important. So if you're young and you're saying, I'll do it when I have the money, do it now because you get the money faster. Now, you don't do it for that reason, but that's just the way God works, the universe, whatever you believe, you get it back 100-fold or more. And so give back, even if it's just your time, and you'll be happily achieving, you'll be fulfilled, and you're going to get the success faster, bottom line. So, I don't know if that answered your question, but that's
absolutely.
Okay, good.
And for the sake of time, because I could sit here and talk all day, but I know you don't have all day. I'm going to hop over to our radio round. Just give us 3 quick questions for our listeners. The first one is, what's your favorite book?
Well, I'm going to give you several because my love language is gifts. There's a book called The 5 Languages of Love. In fact, I had an author on my show. This is a real treat for me because I've given away thousands of copies of his book. Everybody feels love a different way. And so you need to know, if you love anybody, you need to know how they feel love. It's super important. So get that book. And then my students get they get a gift from me almost every month. They get a book of some sort. So some of the books I gift are Turning Pro, Stephen Pressman, Becoming a Professional, Not Being an Amateur, whatever you do, become a professional. Another one is The Slight Edge, those little decisions we make every day that traject our life up or down. Okay, another good book. Gary Keller's One Thing. I had his co-author Jay Papasan on my show. That's a great book. Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning. Okay, about what to do every morning when you get up. I had him on the show. Beautiful human being. So there's some. That's enough. Those are all awesome. Good though. Yeah.
Great selections. What's your favorite quote?
Oh, I've got some on my desk here. Let's see. What would you attempt if you could not fail? Right? What would you do if you couldn't fail? Winston Churchill. Never, ever, 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 ever freaking give up. That was in World War II. I mean, my favorite is probably Tony Robbins' Live with Passion. I don't know if you can feel the passion in my communication here, but it's because I freaking love what I do. On the wall behind me are hundreds of thank you cards from, you can't even see the whole wall back here is covered with them. And, that's my greatest gift in life. Every day I get some love. I mean, I got a couple of emails already this morning from a warrior. Hey, thank you for all the hard work you put into our group, the mindset you teach. Since joining your group, I've written my future life in great detail. I mean, this is just right here on my email chain. I mean, I literally get love 10 times a day, minimum. And this is not ego. It's just, it's just such a blessing for me. I get gifts, I get cards, I get DMs, I get emails every day. And so I'm addicted. I mean, I work Sundays sometimes. My wife puts up with it. And
so that's going to make my next question difficult. What's your favorite thing to do when you're not working?
I love boating. I love fishing. I love anything I do with my beautiful bride. I mean, she is supermodel beautiful, inside and out. And so anything I do with her, I'm happy. So it doesn't matter if we're just sitting having coffee, whatever. So just my favorite thing is to be with her, candidly.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
I live to serve her. Guys, you want to have a great relationship, live to serve each other. That is a world-class freaking relationship. We work to outserve each other, and it doesn't get any better than that. In fact, if you asked her what Rod's purpose in life is, she would tell you to make her happy. True story. So when she's awesome. Pissed at me, I'm like, hey, did you remember what Rod's purpose in life was? Yeah.
So how can our listeners follow you, get in touch with you, find out more about you?
Yep. Come to the boot camp, for God's sakes. If you can make it, just do it. I promise you'll be glad to come. And if you come to me on Sunday, the last day, and say you didn't freaking love it, I don't mean like it, I mean love it, I'll give you your money back right there on the spot. Okay. No, never happened, but by God, I'll make sure I got a couple $100 if you do. But I promise you, you'll love it. So come to that. But if not, then go to realestatewithrod.com. That's a direct link to rodkhleif.com. Nobody can spell my name, but realestatewithrod.com. And I've got tons of books there, free books. I've got articles, I've got videos, I've got so much free content there. Another thing is I've got the largest multifamily Facebook group in the world. If you go to multifamilycommunity.com, it's a direct link to that group. And again, peer group is everything, guys. There's 43,000 plus people in there that want more out of life. So great place to meet other people. You can't promote there, but you can, there's lots of educational stuff there, and questions get asked, they get answered by lots of people. And it's just a great environment. My podcast, Lifetime Cashflow Through Real Estate Investing. I hope you'll give it a listen. I interview the best multifamily players in the world. Again, those motivational clips, I think you'll really enjoy as well. So that's
awesome.
enough.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Rod. I'm eternally grateful and always appreciate it.
My pleasure, buddy. It's good to see you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Rent Roll Radio Show, brought to you by Crestworth Capital. We hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please hit the subscribe button and leave us a rating and review. You can also visit us at crestworthcapital.com or rentrollradio.com, or follow us on Facebook at Rentroll Radio or at Crestworth Capital. If you would like to reach us, feel free to shoot us an email at info@rentrollradio.com or sterling@crestworthcapital.com. We hope you come back next week to join us on some more of our journey. Until then, happy investing.